Welcome to Get Moving TV. I'm Dr. Chris Landon, I serve as your host. This week, we really need to get moving. We have the swine flu, which is no longer called swine flu. We have the H1N1, but really we have influenza season coming too. We're very fortunate to have Dr. Robert Levin from our Department of Public Health. He's the public health officer there. He's going to talk to us today really about how to get vaccines, who is really at risk, and Dr. Levin, if you could take up the cudgel. I know you've been getting lots of calls. Certainly I get lots of calls about this from my chronically ill patients, the people worrying about, am I too old to worry? Are they going to worry about me for getting the influenza vaccine? Is the death panel just going to leave me off so they can finally get rid of me? So this is all a lot of controversy, and I know there's just some good common sense. So if you could tell us, is this H1N1 more dangerous than influenza?
H1N1, looking back at it since it began in April, probably is no more dangerous than influenza. But yet we all hear there's a lot of concern about it. So what's the big deal if it's not more dangerous? Well, with the regular flu, the seasonal flu, we're used to that causing its greatest effect in the very young and the very old. We of course value those populations, but we're used to those being the populations that suffer from the seasonal flu. In fact, we have 36,000 deaths a year, and many of them are in the elderly in our nation. And so if the swine flu is no worse than the regular seasonal flu, why are we concerned? And the main reason we're concerned is we're seeing the greatest number of deaths between about 2 years of age and 30 years of age. And it's a group that we're not used to seeing a high death rate in. And the second concern we have about it is the regular flu, as it sweeps through our population each season, bumps up against people and bounces off those people because they have immunity, either from having had the shot or because of previous years when they had the flu or had shots, they've still got some immunity left. So it repels the disease or modifies it. The problem with this H1N1 disease is that we're naive to it as a population, which means nobody has immunity to it. So if we see 10% of the people, for instance, infected with symptoms with the seasonal flu every year, we expect we'll see 30% of our population or more sick with the swine flu. And what that translates to, if it's no worse than the seasonal flu, is 3 times the death rate. So we could see over 100,000 people die from the swine flu.
I know I've seen some presentations with starting out with just a little one red dot, and then they're in contact with 6 green dots who then turn red, and then there are 6. So, and it seems it spreads like throwing blood on glass. How can we prevent that kind of spread?
Well, the best way to prevent it is with an immunization. We're finding that the immunization is not going to be available. The swine flu virus, the H1N1 virus, is out there right now. We're seeing it spread in schools already. We're seeing 10 kids in a class of 30 out on the same day in schools in our county. But when the immunization is available, that will have a big impact on its spread. The other thing we can do is we can practice personal hygiene measures that protect us. And we can do that by washing our hands frequently. We can do that by coughing, some people call it the Dracula cough, coughing into your sleeve. We can be aware that the way the virus enters our body is through our eyes, our nose, and our mouth. And we often are the ones that carry it. If we touch contaminated surfaces and then touch our face, we can pass ourselves the disease. Another thing a person can do with personal hygiene, and this is so critical, it's the cornerstone to preventing spread, is if you start to feel ill, go home. Don't be a hero, don't be stoic, don't stay at work. You're not helping anybody, and in fact, you're endangering people, because someone who's sick is a hotbed of this disease, and they're going to transmit it to many others.
You know, our cardiologist, our pediatric cardiologist, just came back from China, and they have heat-seeking devices there so that they can cull out immediately because, of course, they have millions and millions of potential incredible impacts to their public health system. Now, in terms of the people who should be receiving the vaccine first, I understand pregnant women are really the number one. Can you kind of, why pregnant women? Are they more immunologically disturbed?
It could be. They have some, it's not clear why. We know that, it is clear that it's pregnant women. They're a major concern, excuse me. But the problem with, and evidence of that, is 5% of the deaths that we've seen in our country are in pregnant women, whereas only 1% of our population at any time is pregnant. So we know that they're disproportionately and more severely affected. I'll tell you what my theory is, because if you look at pregnancy and how serious the disease presents in different stages, divide pregnancy up into the first, second, and third trimesters, 3, 6, and 9 months, you'll find that the greatest death rate is in the last 3 months. And I think it has something to do with just how that pregnancy pushes up on your diaphragm and decreases your lungs' capacity. You need every bit of your lung to survive a bad pneumonia. And if it's limited by having a baby in there, that can have a negative impact.
Certainly we'll see that with asthma in pregnancy, and cystic fibrosis too, where chronic lung disease is a problem. So that sounds like an excellent approach. Now with influenza, we really were pushing, I think I sent you something about the worst bioterrorists we have, or not the anthrax we're going to get from the helicopter, but it's those little 2- and 3-year-old children who really are the ones who are making grandma sick and grandpa sick, and now are their teenage brothers and sisters and 30-year-old aunts are really going to be at risk. So we know pregnancy is number one. Who's the second population that we really want to immunize?
There's not necessarily a preferred order, but another population, excuse me, I don't have swine flu that I'm aware of. Another population we want to immunize is caretakers of children under 6 months. Why can't we just immunize the kids under 6 months? Well, none of the vaccines are proven to be safe and effective under 6 months of age. And so we need to immunize their caretakers so that they can be a buffer between the little ones and the rest of the world. We also want to immunize people between 6 months and 18 years of age or 25 years of age, depending on what stage, how stingy we're being with the vaccine, that could vary. We want to immunize people who have underlying health conditions that make them high risk. And those are the regular conditions: heart disease, diabetes, asthma, other lung diseases. But it's also a new disease that we haven't really counted in that before, but we're also seeing a disproportionate number of severe illnesses and deaths with, and that's obese people. So they're included in that group as well.
Yeah, I was reading in Venezuela, where you have a number of colleagues down there, where the healthcare workers had an inordinate death rate, and certainly they were cramming the hospitals filled with the H1N1, and then obesity really did pop up. So I don't think of that as being the cure for obesity. Certainly diet and exercise, and we have the holidays coming up, so hopefully we'll be able to work on that. But it is a big risk area, and here in Ventura County, we've got really 30% or more who are overweight or obese, so we would have a tremendous impact there.
We also, if I could add, our fifth group that will be immunized will be healthcare providers. So those are the major groups.